July the 3rd. At breakfast the next morning we met Daisy. She's 21 years old and lives in Nova Scotia with her parents. Daisy was adopted from Zhenjiang when she was 11 years old. She played with every baby in the orphanage when she lived there, and knows that she definitely played with Rebecca during the mutual stay. Daisy comes back to Zhenjiang often to visit and frequently stays in the welfare home. This morning she had one of her friends with her for breakfast. They were going to have lunch with the welfare home director, Mr. Lee, and invited us along, but we were planning to visit Rebecca's finding spot that day and could not attend. Right next door to our hotel is the Silver Sea Hotel where we stayed when we adopted Rebecca. This place was under construction when we last visited. It felt weird to be back in this lobby and not carrying a baby. The drive to Rebecca's finding spot took about 90 minutes, and unlike Emily's location, this was an extremely remote village. After wandering around town for a while, we found the local gathering spot, and pretty soon word got out that there was Guaiza in town, white foreigners. That news brought out the local Communist Party officer and town council. We visited their local shrine, met the mayor, and got a tour of City Hall. Then he led us through the village. Everyone was very friendly and curious. I was moved by the remoteness of this village. There is no electricity, water is hand-drawn, and sanitation appears to be a challenge. There's a piggy. Piggy, piggy, piggy. Oink, oink, oink. Oink, oink, oink.
Their own market, like somebody just gave the market.
This village is the home of the first Chinese ambassador to the United States. In 1878, Chen Lenben visited the U.S. and met President Rutherford B. Hayes, thereby establishing relations between the two great nations. Mr. Chen brought 30 Chinese students with him on his visit. This was the first time in history that Chinese students came to the U.S. to study. Between 1878 and 1881, 120 students traveled to the U.S. to study. The village has turned Mr. Chen's home into a museum. The mayor and townspeople are rightfully very proud of this history.
Oh, and here is
The area around the village was beautiful, very tropical. Everywhere we drove, we saw peanuts and rice spread out to dry on the road. Our driver took us to a lotus pond that was spectacular. There was a hefty fine for picking lotus flowers. That did not stop him from harvesting a bloom for the girls.
enjoy your breakfast.
That afternoon, we left Zhenjiang for Guangzhou. We were all excited about the Western food and shopping that awaited us there. In fact, we checked into our rooms and immediately hit the streets to shop. Out my hotel room window.
The next morning was July the 4th, but oddly enough, no one was celebrating in China. The White Swan Hotel sits right on the Pearl River. It's probably cleaner than the Mississippi by a fraction. We were all surprised by the number of swimmers we spotted in the Pearl.
Oh, there. Swimming in the Pearl River in the morning. In the middle of the river. Look at this. This guy. I don't know if he's making any progress. Let's see if he's asking for help. Oh, doesn't appear to be.
Right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And you ready?
Yep.
Oh!
All right, you ready for breakfast?
Yeah.
Breakfast in the White Swan was awesome. This is truly baby central for adopting Americans. When we became a family, there were only a handful of adopting families in the hotel. Not so now. It seemed like every table was occupied by newly created families with their babies.
That didn't happen.
They did. Thankfully,
It's pretty.
The day in Guangzhou was spent with more shopping, including a trip to get eye exams and new glasses for almost everyone in the family. That night, we took a sunset dinner cruise on the Pearl River.
If I had a boat, I'd go out on the ocean. And if I had a pony, I'd ride on my boat. And we could all go out on the ocean, set me up on my pony, on my.
What do you think, Emma Ding Dong?
Now if I were Roy Rogers, I'd sure enough be single. I couldn't bring myself to marry an old lady. Just be me and Trevor. We'll go riding through them movies, and we'd buy a boat and on the sea we'd sail. And if I had a boat, I'd go out on the ocean. And if I had a pony, I'd ride him on my boat. And we could all together go out on the ocean, set me up on my pony, on my boat.
It's July the 5th, and we're pulling out of Guangzhou for Hong Kong. There must be something special in the Pearl River waters because everyone is dying to swim in its liquid splendor. Today will be our first experience with Chinese train travel. The train left wicked early, and everyone tried to sleep during the 2-hour trip. Once we arrived on the Kowloon Peninsula, we checked into our hotel and then went sightseeing. The first stop was the Hong Kong Walk of Fame. Then we took a ferry ride to Hong Kong proper. In this part of China, it seemed to rain every 20 minutes. The shower would last for about 10 minutes and then stop, only to repeat the entire cycle. We were headed to Victoria's Peak, which Elsie assured us would offer spectacular nighttime views of Hong Kong. We walked, took escalators, elevated sidewalks, taxis, and the Peak tram to get to the summit. Elsie was right. The view was worth the trip.
Victoria's Peak.
Which is in what city?
Hong Kong.